And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a special live edition of Wrestling with the Future. I'm your host, Mad Dog DeCipio, joined as I am each and every week by the man from hell, Minnesota, Armageddon, Michael Armageddon Murphy. How the hell are you, brother?
Oh, I'm good. Unfortunately, I'm from Killeen, Texas, not hell, Minnesota.
Well, guess what? You're from hell, Minnesota.
This is my house. This is what I live with, folks.
Hey, and my producer, Jammin' Jake Hudson.
What's up?
How are you, Mr. Hudson?
Doing good. A little bit. It was cold this week, but it's
I know
good.
it is. And joining me, a young lady that I've known about 5 or 6 different names already. We'll find out what we're calling her this week. I call her Jennifer Lopez. Jen, how the heck are you?
I am good. Thank you very much.
You were the princess. You were the vampiress. You were the
No. I
sorceress.
was never a princess. No.
You didn't call yourself Princess Magdalena? No.
No, I was Vampiress Magdalena.
Oh, I got you.
And now I'm Sorceress Morgan.
Hey, Jen, because we got one princess on the show.
Well, she's the queen, but anyway.
Well, and true enough. Let me introduce this fine-looking, sassy young broad I got on the show today. In a career that spanned only 4 years in ring, Vicki Otis made her name and then some. Along with her partner, Velvet McIntyre, they were tearing it up when fate stepped in and crushed her career only 4 years in. You began your career in 1980, Princess Victoria, and it seems like one hell of a roller coaster ride since then. How are you, my friend?
I am awesome. I'm doing really well. But it wasn't just 4 years. I actually started in the Pacific Northwest, and I believe my first match there was in '79 in Utah.
It was.
So I almost made it 5.
You were with the Don Owens, I believe.
Yes, sir. One of the greatest promoters and one of the nicest men I've ever met in my life.
We're going to talk about another guy that you've known and grew fond of. A guy named Sandy Barr. In many ways, he's the guy that mentored you and tutored you, the guy who trained you for what you became. We lost Sandy Barr in 2007 around June. How did his loss affect you, Vicki?
It broke my heart. It broke my
Tell
heart.
everybody who I'm talking about when I say Sandy Barr.
Sandy Barr he started out his wrestling career, I think he was about 17. Young kid, started out with blonde hair. I don't know what it is with you guys in blonde hair, but you got to have blonde hair when you start out.
Yeah.
Shows the blood pressure.
But he was a collegiate wrestler.
Yeah.
And then he started working for Don Owens, and he was a referee.
Right.
When I met him, he had stepped into the position of doing some booking. He pretty much handled everything. Don was in the office unless he needed to come out, and usually that wasn't a good thing.
True.
I had to move out of my house when I was 14. It was basically a leave or die situation. And I ended up in Portland in a Wino Motel on Burnside and working at a Denny's restaurant on 23rd at Burnside that still had the little Sambo plaques up.
Wow.
Yeah. The tigers running around the tree when they turn to butter.
Yeah.
And these were the ceramic plaques. This was one of the original Denny's. And I started going to the wrestling matches. And then one night I wore this chiffon dress, a yellow chiffon dress that had a Chinese collar, and I had a pair of candies on.
Yeah.
And I went to get my general admission ticket and paid I think it was $5. And handed my money, got my ticket, looked, and it was front row seat 24. And I went, I'm sorry, you gave me the wrong ticket. And Sandy said, no, I didn't. You're on the front row. Well, from that time forward. Now, if you've ever been a waitress, you work graveyard, you want to work Saturday night.
Absolutely.
Well, I traded off every Saturday night I could to go to the Chautauqua Sports Arena in Portland, Oregon, and watch the wrestling.
Beautiful.
Well, one day at Denny's, I had an altercation with the district manager, and I quit. And it happened to be a Saturday morning. And I went to it was a Sunday morning. And I went to the matches the following Saturday, and I told Sandy, I said, do you have any positions available? Because I was not one to stay out of work long. I was probably close to 15 and a half at the time. And Sandy said, yeah, can you work tonight? Well, I was once again in a dress, and I said, well, that depends on what you want me to do. And he said, you can't do what I need you to do in that. He said, you show up tomorrow morning at my flea market at 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, at that time, if I was up at 7 o'clock in the morning, it was because I was up from the night before.
Sure.
But I showed up in blue jeans, t-shirt, and helped Sandy with selling tickets at the flea market door, did concessions. And then that afternoon when the flea market closed, that's when the real work began. Because we had to break down right at 200 tables, flip them on carts, move them out, bring out the ring. That was the first time I'd ever set up a ring. We had to set up the ring, then we had to set up the chairs. And I never understood until about a year later why we had to set up the ring on Sunday afternoon when we had to break the ring down Friday evening and Thursday evening and set it up Friday for the flea market.
Right.
And then break down the flea market and set up the ring Friday night after the flea market was open. No, break down the ring Saturday afternoon when the flea market was over, then set up for Saturday night wrestling that night.
Yeah, sure.
And anyway, this went on for about a year, and then one day Sandy came to me and he said, look, I run a training school. And then it hit why the ring had to be set up. He said, I've got a girl who wants to be a wrestler, but I can't have her wrestle the guys. Can you be a body? And I looked at him and said, how much does it pay?
Sure.
Not doing that for free.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Yeah. Anyway, I ended up at training the following Monday morning, and then Monday afternoon, and then Tuesday morning, and this went on. Sandy didn't train one day.
Right.
7 days a week if he could find the time.
Yeah.
No less than 5, always 7, and always twice a day. Well, about 6, 8, 10 weeks later, I looked around and said, wait a minute. The girl had quit. I'm still here. He used me because he couldn't have her wrestle other guys.
Yeah.
But I'm wrestling the guys. What? And so basically that's the way Sandy tricked me into becoming a professional wrestler.
Well,
I
I'll
was
tell
a
you what,
fan,
and
but I never thought about wrestling.
And so in earnest, that was around 1979. You made your pro debut in 1980, as I'm told. And one of the first people that you faced off against is a woman that you would develop a lifelong friendship with, the Velvet McIntyre. Talk to me about working against Velvet and then working with her.
Well,
the elusive Velvet McIntyre who keeps... It's funny, I got to tell you, Vicki, I haven't hit her up probably a dozen times for this show, and she's like very shy. She don't want to come on.
Well, now Velvet's probably going to kick my butt for talking out of school. which is the reason I made her a partner, is because I got tired of her kicking my butt. Milk has hearing issues.
Gotcha.
And that's why she doesn't do podcasts or telephone interviews, because she doesn't hear that well. She'll do a written interview on time because she is very family oriented.
I see. Well, I'll tell you what. I want to go around the horn here. I want to start with Jen. You're the only panelist here that's female among my crew. So I'm going to give you, from a woman's perspective, what do you want to know about the biz from one of the best, Princess Victoria?
I have actually watched a lot of her stuff via YouTube and everything, and it's because of women like Princess Victoria that has paved the way for women like myself to be able to do what we enjoy. And it's funny that she was talking about when she was training, she was working with a female, and then she started working with the men. Well, that was the same situation with me when I started a little over 15 years ago. There was one other female in our group, but we trained all together. However, when we did our, separate matches, we had to do the girl on girl thing. And anyway, the one girl, she quit because she did some really crazy stuff during one of the matches. And they were showing us how to do body slams. Well, I couldn't pick her up to save my life because she wouldn't post herself. Well, I'm not going to pick you up like dead weight. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to break my back to make you look good. Yeah. So one of the guys did it, and she did this thing, and the dude, the trainer was like, "What the hell did you just do?" Yeah. And they're like, "That's it. You're done." So she quit. So I started training with the guys. I'm sorry. I understand that it's a dominant male sport, but you know what? When women come into this industry, I would rather have you would gain my respect as a man if you chopped me like you would another man. Because
I'm glad you went there, Jen. I'm glad you went there. Vicki, I'm glad Jennifer went there. Because here's the question, and Mr. Murphy and I have had this discussion from time to time. Is it easier for the women to work with the guys or to learn from other women? I happen to think they learn quicker and better from the guys. That's just me.
I did. I actually enjoyed it because my now ex-husband, we were training together, and one of the guys was kind of nervous to chop me. I said, "Wait a second, what the hell? Why do you keep looking at my husband?" And he's like, "Well, I want to be respectful." I said, "Oh, bullshit. I'm here training with the rest of you guys. You could either chop me like a man or get the hell out of my way, because that's how you're going to earn my respect." Well, he chopped me, and I literally welted and had a bruise, and he goes, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I said, "No, don't do that shit. That's what pisses me off. You just earned my respect because you weren't a pussy and you hit me like you would a man. Granted, I have boobs, but I don't care. That's not why I joined or became a wrestler. I became a wrestler to show men that I'll kick your ass just as much as a woman. I don't care."
Well, Judy Martin's got ginormous boobs. It didn't stop her at all.
One thing that, Jennifer, that I like about what you said, that's one thing that I appreciated about Sandy. When I walked into that ring to train, once that girl had quit, I was no longer treated as a woman wrestler. I was a wrestler. They threw me in the ropes. They elbowed me. They chopped me. They body slammed me. There was not the fingerly thing. Sandy wouldn't put up with one of the guys. "Oh, I can't body slam her." He said, "Then you can't wrestle. Get out of my ring."
There you go.
You know, if we can have
Exactly.
children, why can't we take a chop or why can't we take a body slam? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Do it or get out of my way. You're hindering me from learning what I need to learn. So you either move and get out of my way or you be part of the solution. Either way,
It's a very
you're going to get
interesting
your ass kicked.
conversation. Very
Yeah.
interesting indeed that we're having this conversation. Mike Murphy, join in here. You just got finished, in fact, training a young woman to be a wrestler.
Yes, I did. I've trained a couple women to get into business, and I would tell them, before they started training, before they even got in the ring, I told them, I said, look, when it comes to training, I'm an asshole. Okay, plain and simple. I'm an asshole. You're not going to like me. You're going to worship the quicksand that I walk on. But when you get in the ring, you're going to respect me.
Exactly.
And you're going to learn to be safe with the other person that you're in the ring with.
Yeah.
And basically, I tell them, look, you're going to sweat, you're going to hurt, you're going to bleed, you're going to be going home with welts on your back, welts on your chest, and I would chop them like I would a guy. As a matter of fact, the first girl I trained, I told her, I said, you're going to learn to take a chop today. And she's like, oh, okay. And she thought because she was a woman that I was going to pull back on her.
Oh,
Hell
BS.
no. I wound up all the way from Colorado, and I let that chop fly, and I lit her up. And about 10 minutes later, when she could catch her breath, and, she wasn't welling up in her eyes, she said, is that what it always feels like? I said, for me, yes. I said, from other wrestlers, no. I said, depends on who you're working with. I said, but the sooner you get used to that pain, the sooner you're going to be able to progress.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. See, that's
That's
one
where
thing,
you
Mike.
get your turtle shell.
See, that's one thing, Mike. With Sandy, there were 4 garbage cans around the ring, and the bet wasn't if you were going to throw up; it was when you were going to throw up, and which bucket were you going to throw up in?
Which one did you get to quick enough?
I remember my first night of training. I trained under Alpha and Hawaii. I'm sure you remember seeing them in locker rooms, Alpha and Sika.
That's 2 of my best friends, along with Sam.
Right.
That's
Alpha. I trained under Alpha. Funny story. My first night, I'm on my way to training. It's snowing out, and I'm expecting a phone call to say, "Hey, we've canceled training for the night." Well, I go in, I get changed. Nobody told me don't eat anything 4 hours before training.
Oh no!
I get in there, I'm doing my squats, I'm taking bumps, I'm hitting ropes. I drop down, I slid out from under the ring, under the rope, I run into the men's room. Let me tell you, Burger King does not taste better the second time around. Okay? And I'll tell you what, I come back out. Alpha is standing there, and he looks at me and just very straight face, very monotone voice. He says, "Are you ready to go to work now?"
That's right. That's
And
right.
I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
If you don't puke during training, that is a rite of passage.
Then you didn't do it right.
Exactly.
Exactly. If you don't puke during training, then you're not training.
You're not doing it right.
See, you guys are lucky because when I first started training, I actually puked on the wall. I couldn't make it. I went projectile vomit right on the wall. I'm like, oh shit, I'm sorry. And my trainer started laughing.
Nothing more embarrassing than I trained with Larry Sharp and the late Buddy Rogers. And there's nothing more embarrassing than puking your guts up in front of a former world champion, who you admire, by the way. And you've seen him at his best, and he's seen you at your worst. But you know what? There's a kinship there. And because of that, Buddy became a very dear friend of mine. So did Larry. Interestingly enough, we're going to talk about another well-known trainer in the business, Vicki. Somebody that you talk about a lightning rod. This woman she was the lightning in the lightning rod. Our friend Lillian Ellison, the late great fabulous Moolah.
Yes, sir.
Her name, even now, she's been gone a long time, but her name still evokes emotion. You either love Moolah or you hate her. There's no in between with Moolah.
No,
Why
there's an
is
in
that?
between. Wait. Now I want to. There's an in between with me.
Uh-oh.
As far as businesswoman, no, I don't like Lillian Ellison. As far as a wrestler, if it wasn't for Moolah, I wouldn't be here. And all this crap
exactly,
taking her name off things because she was, how do you put it, had the heart of a promoter. You know, he could fit the heart of a promoter in his belly button.
Yeah. Well, now, but you know what? That's a really valid point. Let's talk about that, because there were people who said, had that been a guy and they took his name off of something, there would have been an outcry the likes of which you've never seen. There was barely a whimper when they took Moolah's name off of the Royal Rumble or whatever it was.
It was a WrestleMania thing.
You know, once again,
it was known as the Mrs. WrestleMania. I think it was the Mrs. WrestleMania.
No, it was the Battle Royal.
The fabulous
it was the Battle Royal. They took her name off,
Yeah.
and to this day, I believe that is wrong. If you're going to do that to Moolah, he was an asshole. Then get rid of Babe Ruth.
Strange thing. Yeah, but you know what, Vicki? It's a double standard, Vicki, but I got to tell you, though, for whatever reason, that woman had... There were people who, they either loved her or they did not. There was no in-between. You're lucky there was an in-between with you. But with a lot of people, including a lot of the girls, there was no... Wendy Richter says that to this day, Wendy Richter to this day says she had no idea what was coming when she got screwed over by Moolah.
Right.
She didn't see it coming.
Nope. And that's the way Moolah was. I didn't realize that even though I was on top, wrestling, you know, tag team champion, semi-main event in Madison Square Garden, that I was getting ripped off because I was making $10,000 a year. And before that, my biggest paycheck was $1,700 a year or less as a waitress.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I couldn't figure out why in Madison Square Garden I made less in semi-main event than I did with Bill Watts in Louisiana, who happened to not send our checks to Moolah and insisted on paying us cash, where I would make twice as much with Bill Watts with half the crowd that I made in Madison Square Garden the night that Joyce and Wendy dropped the belts to Velvet Knight. Do you know what my paycheck was for that night? And I believe the crowd was 45,000 or better.
About $5,000. Less than $5,000.
Much lower. According to Moolah, Velvet and I made $500 a piece that night.
Are you sure?
And she took her 30% out of that $500 she graciously let us have. Now,
so you're trying to tell me that she got a tip fee?
I've heard a lot of stories about Moolah. There was one show, Dark Side of the Ring, where they did about Moolah, and they had people who were telling off about certain parties that she would have and would supply certain supplements, if you will.
Yeah, sure.
And all.
Mike, I'm going to tell you what, I was there, so I cannot say whether that happened or whether that didn't, and I won't project my opinion on that.
Right.
What I will tell you is when I was working for Moolah, Drugs were her worst enemy. I made the mistake of putting a little bit of chew to take to Nassau because I'd never been there and I didn't know I could get better pot in Nassau.
Yeah, right.
I put it in between under my toes where it was stuck right here. And there was this little fella that was working for the guys, and him and I went down on the dock there in Nassau in front of, I think it's the Hilton, and we smoked some pot and we talked all night. I mean, we just talked. Well, this little shit got caught by his promoter, and he threw me under the bus.
Yeah.
Oh, now just for pot, Moolah went off on me big time. Her exact words, do you realize what you could have done to this business getting caught with drugs? Don't you ever do the. If you ever do that again, I will fire you on the spot.
Incredible.
So, what they're saying about the drugs, I never got any drugs from Moolah. Moolah never offered to give me any drugs. So, like I said, I wasn't there. I don't know. What was the girl's name? It was a black young lady. What was her name?
Oh, I don't remember her name.
Anyway, and
I
it
know
wasn't
who you're
her
talking about.
family.
Oh,
It was her family.
Say that again.
It's not Sandy Bartlett.
From Dark Side of the Ring. The female wrestler, the black lady wrestler. She was a trailblazer.
Yes, she was. And for the life of me, I am so embarrassed that I cannot remember her name.
I'll find that right now. Jake, we have a question for Princess Victoria.
Number one, what? I know this is an irrelevant question, but what do you think about women's wrestling today? What do you think about what's going on?
Who are you talking? Now there's a key question, Jake. Which promotion are you talking about?
Thank you.
Vince Jr.'s company.
You mean Vinny? From what I understand, and because I don't watch it, I can't give an opinion at this time. But the one time I did watch it, I have actually offered Vinny $1,000 for 5 minutes in a room with him with no consequences. Because in my well, he can't turn me into the police for kicking his butt if I pay him $1,000 to do it, can he?
Well, maybe he deserves that ass kicking, Vicky.
There's no maybe to it. But the wrestling that I watched, in my personal opinion, Vinny disgraced women wrestling. He disgraced my business. He took and I'm saying my business, not his business, my business, because I'm the one who represented women wrestling. Vinny didn't have anything to do with it other than he paid girls to get in the ring and show TNA.
Yeah.
And I understand, don't get me, I do not blame the women because the way Vinny did things, and I've studied this, the way he took out all the promotions, he made it impossible for women to make money in the business unless they worked for him. Yep. And they had to do it or they didn't work for him. And
look what he did to China.
Oh.
Don't even get me. Look what he did to Wendy. Don't even.
Yeah. Oh God.
What he did to Wendy was
look what he did to me. If Mr. McMahon, Vince Sr., and I will call him Mr. McMahon because I have all the respect for him in the world. If Vince Sr. had not sold the business to Vinny in March of '84, and he still owned the business the first week in September, I would have been taken care of.
Absolutely.
And there's no doubt in my mind. I would not have been basically thrown to the wolves with $20 in my pocket because I couldn't wrestle anymore. Mr. McMahon would have made me a manager, a valet. I mean,
sure. Well, I want to talk to you about that, Vicki. By the way, the African American female we're talking about, her name was Ethel Hairston. She went by the name.
Correct.
Yeah, she went by the name Black Venus.
Yes,
And
Black Venus.
I remember.
Yeah, Ethel Blanche Hairston, a.k.a. Black Venus. She debuted at 16 years old, by the way. Here's a question I've got for you. Interesting question, I think. We said earlier in the show that, for all intents and purposes, your career began in 80, and by 84, your career was pretty well over.
No, it was over. There's no pretty well to it. It was done.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I should tell people that Princess Victoria's career ended in my backyard here in Philadelphia. It happened at the Philadelphia Spectrum. When did you know in that match, you and Velvet, when did you know that you were in trouble?
When I got back to the dressing room, finished the match. And what happened was a total flub. A girl went to pile drive me, stripped, and bam. I didn't know I was hurt. I didn't feel it. When you're, I think the only thing that ever stopped me in any injury that ever stopped me in the ring, and I had to, was when I broke my collarbone, and I did not crack my collarbone. I broke it in two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I still got, well, the doctors tell me the bone going from my neck to the break twist one way and from the shoulder to the break twist the other. So I am truly twisted.
It could not have happened at a worse time. You guys were just, you guys were riding the crest of the waves. You guys were on your way up. No,
yes, we were. No, we weren't on our way up. We were up. We were there. And
yeah, I mean, you guys were, when I say crest of the wave, you guys were at the top of your game.
Oh, yeah. We were like, ice cream and chocolate syrup. You just can't have one without the other. And
I know, yeah, right?
Yeah. We were, Velvet, bless her heart, she has got to be the most patient woman God ever put on the face of the earth. Because I was on the road for, we never had an argument. I can't even remember a disagreement.
Yeah.
And when we got in the ring, this was back in the day when you knew the start, the high spot, and the finish.
Sure.
And
absolutely,
it was what we did with Wendy and Joyce, with Leilani and Despina, with with all the other girls. It was just, and I can't remember having a bad match against Velvet or with Velvet as my partner.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, you guys were like peanut butter and jelly, like ice cream and cherries. You guys were perfect together. Let's talk about in-ring and out-of-ring rivalries. This is the thing I'm always interested in. How often did the heat in-ring spill over to outside?
No.
And with who?
There was only one time that I can remember the heat spilled over into the dressing room. And what happened was Wendy and I were wrestling, and I believe it was once again Philadelphia, but it wasn't the Spectrum. It was the little spots in Philly.
Civic Center.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Civic
and
Center.
It was once again. You said my neck got broke in the Philadelphia Spectrum. It didn't. It got broke at the Civic Center in a dark match.
Oh,
Everybody,
okay.
September 1st was the night that I got my neck broke. No, it was September 7th. Because
yeah.
yeah, but
Okay.
this is a common misconception. So I understand.
I'm glad you set the record straight. Yeah, I'm glad you set the record straight. Because what we're looking at is that the official record is saying that Philadelphia Spectrum was the place of your very final match where you were injured.
No, sir.
Okay, so I'm glad
No,
that
sir.
it's not. All right.
There was not. I've watched that match again and again and again. What
Yeah.
did not happen in that match?
Wow. Jen, you have questions for Princess Victoria?
But yeah, actually, I'm a promoter now, and we actually started doing intergender matches. What is your thought on that?
I've done intergender matches. Buddy Rose and I had a feud in Portland. Buddy Rose threw me into a brick wall and busted my head open in my hometown. As far as intergender matches are concerned, I don't believe that Darlene should be pitted against Andre the Giant.
Oh God, no.
Right. If,
You'd be more afraid that he'd eat you.
Don't take tiny tinies and put them against Buddy Landau.
Well, that's just like putting David and Goliath together. It just doesn't work because you've got the short little dude and then you got this big fat dude, and it's like, okay, he's gonna sit on you and your pancakes.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, I only sat on you once. Call me a big fat dude. I know I'm fat.
You weren't fat. Shut up. You were husky. Big difference.
Cool. I got a question for you.
Go for it.
In some of the smaller promotions, and I believe in AEW, I've seen it once, maybe twice. What's your opinion of the women wrestlers coloring a match or juicing a match?
I did that with Buddy Rose.
Okay.
Buddy Rose made my career that night. Buddy Rose, there was the guys in the Northwest. When I came up, I was so lucky. I was little sister. You didn't mess with little sister. Unless I said, okay, come on, let's go mess.
Yeah.
Buddy Rose.
I'll tell you what, Buddy Rose also sold for you like crazy.
Oh, when I kicked him in that day in the crow's nest, he was down on the ground in the field position, screaming like a woman.
I know it.
Buddy Rose made my career. And he didn't have to do that. And I found out years later, just here recently, I was supposed to be the second person out in that battle royal. The boys and Sandy.
Oh.
And I'm talking Tommy Rogers. I believe it was Hacksaw Sawyer. All were willing to take the heat from Don Owens. And Don Owens may have been a small man, but when he took a chunk out of your tail, he took a chunk out of your tail.
I'm sure, yeah, absolutely.
All the boys and Sandy Barr.
Say again?
Is anybody for
well decided? Well,
what's that, Jake? What's going?
Victoria's freezing up.
Is Vicki freezing up?
Yeah.
Oh, she's fine here now.
Am I freezing up?
Oh no, you're fine now.
It could also be where she's at, guys.
Yeah, don't forget she's in the middle of nowhere.
Oh yeah.
I'm in Mississippi. I'm
in the middle of I'm a mile down a dirt road. Can you see me now?
You're beautiful. Yeah. Nice.
Her
got a
audio
question
was
for you.
breaking up.
So, Jake, don't worry about it. Listen, I've got a question for you, Vicki. There was a small blurb I read today about you returning to some kind of managerial position in 2012 with Desiree Peterson. Can you fill me in on that? What was the whole gist of that?
Are you kidding me?
I know nothing about it.
I have no idea what you're talking about. And if this has anything to do with who I think it does, and his initials are CA,
yes, ma'am.
You need to shoot him out the door. That's the idiot who stalked me for years, called my house at 3:00 in the morning on a radio station and was telling them that I didn't end my career because I got my neck broke. I ended my career because the WWF fired me because I was drunk in the ring.
Oh.
And I just had to call Brian Blair about this guy because he's been harassing the Glow Girls. This guy is an idiot. He's a psycho. You need to get away from him.
I know exactly who you're talking about. I do.
You need to get the hell away from him. And if he's got my name in his mouth, he needs to take it out. Now.
Yeah, I mean, it's
because I built. All right, I'm going to say this right now. I'm saying it right to this guy. You either take my name out of your mouth, or I will turn the boys loose on you in a heartbeat. And they will do what I need them to do because I've never asked them for their help before. So you back off, you pervert.
Yeah, the other thing you might want to do is have him remove everything that's written on the internet, because there is plentiful. Let me tell you, the Desiree Peterson Princess Victoria thing is all over the place, and on a lot of different websites. You might want to, after we get off the air, I can fill you in a little bit.
I made the mistake.
I plan on doing anyway.
Well, I made the mistake of
talking about
this. Mike, we're friends on Facebook. I'll let you know. He's got somewhere between 12 and 15 personas on Facebook that I had to block.
Let me know too, please.
Absolutely. So here's the thing, though. So we are squashing that rumor now. Princess Victoria had nothing to do with Desiree Peterson. She was not.
No. Wait. Back up.
Okay.
Desiree and I did go to a show for this guy.
Right.
And that was one of the biggest mistakes of my life. But I have never been in a managerial position or against Desiree Peterson or this guy. I just showed up at one of his shows, and it was the biggest mistake I ever made in my life. I just had to call Brian Blair the other day to put him in check.
Yeah.
This guy is a nutcase.
Yeah. So, and that's factual. Question, Jake, you haven't asked the question yet.
I did ask one question about. I did ask about the Vinny Root thing, but
ask again. Ask another question. Are you nervous?
Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous, and I'm also having to deal with crazy stuff behind me. So
that's okay. We deal with crazy
Jake,
stuff.
It's okay, Jake. Calm down. It's okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
I heard you wrote a book.
Yes, sir, I did. It's called Princess Victoria, Trials, Tribulations, and Turnbuckles.
Well, no, it's called Tears, Triumphs, and Turnbuckles.
Tears, Triumphs, and Turnbuckles. That's a
I should
You're
be your
sold, you
publishing
can remember
agent.
the name of your own book.
Jake, why don't you put the book up?
What?
Put the book up, Jake, so we can all
I
see
was
it.
going to do that right now. That's
There
what I
you
was
go.
doing.
Thank you, Jake.
Here's the book. The book is called Princess Victoria, Tales of Tears, Triumphs, and Turnbuckles. And it is written from her perspective of not just in the ring, but around the business, outside the business. This is a woman who may have wrestled for less than 5 or 6 years, but she's been involved in the professional wrestling business for some 40 years. So let's not, underestimate that.
Yes, in one way or another. Now, I disappeared when Moolah did to me what she did to me. No, excuse me.
Yeah.
Moolah didn't do that. Lillian Ellison did that. When Lillian Ellison did to me what she did to me, it broke my heart. I mean, this was my family.
I think I want to open up. Vic, are you up to taking some questions from the chat room? We have an audience that would love to ask you questions.
There's only 2 people. There's only one person. There's 2 chatters in the chat.
Mr. Pesci is there. Mr. Pesci, if you have a question you'd like to ask the Princess Victoria, feel free to fire away, my friend.
You want me to take the picture off now?
Yeah, we opened up the chat room for limited people tonight. So Mr. Pesci's there. We wanted to keep everything kind of like, organized and respectful tonight. It's an interesting thing. There are people who refer to Moolah as Moolah, and people who refer to her as Lillian Ellison. This woman really was a dichotomy. She really was duplicitous. She had this reputation of, if she liked you and she was in with you, you could do no wrong. But if she didn't trust you, the radar and the horns were always out.
Right.
So explain this duplicitous personality to me. This Moolah on one hand and Lillian on the other.
All right.
Did she ever find a common middle ground? Or did she swing back and forth?
With Lillian Ellison, it was, if you could do something for her, you were her best friend.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Lillian was good to me up to the very end, other than, the $500 payoff. I had no idea until Judy showed me the evidence. As far as personally,
yeah,
Moolah had me over for dinner at her house multiple times. I've been on the road with Moolah. She taught me a few things.
Right.
There was a gentleman who would put out the rumor. I was headed to the bar one night up in New Brunswick, and he had put out the word that he was going to do this, that, or the other thing. And Moolah showed up with dinner, which she normally didn't do in the motel room. And it was biscuits and butter, great greasy KFC. And she put 3 thighs and 2 biscuits on my plate. And she said, you need to eat every bite before you go to the bar. Because she didn't like me going to the bar, but she knew I was going. She would rather us sweet, innocent little girls in the motel room than walk 2 blocks to the bar. Well, come to find out, this person who has passed away, and I won't mention his name, but it was up in New Brunswick, and I'm pretty sure everybody knows who he was. It told the boys that he was going to make an example of me on the pool table at the bar that night. And one of the guys told Moo, and Moo got the biscuits and the chicken. I went to the bar, and of course my stomach's greased up, soaked in bread and butter. And I happen to like Black Cows, which was amaretto, vodka, and Baileys. And it was not a cheap drink even then.
I'm sure.
Well,
It's still not now.
right, Princess Victoria to my evil twin Victoria, and I ordered double Black Russians.
Oh, good Lord.
There you go.
About 3 hours into the night, and I'm still standing. I'm dancing. I'm playing pool. This guy hollers out, "Jesus Christ! I've spent $230, and this bitch is still standing." And
Oh, shit.
I proceeded to drink him under the table because I was taught by the
what's
best:
up
Buddy
about
Rose,
that?
Roddy Piper, Rip Oliver, Stan Stasiak. And I walked 2 blocks to the motel, and then I quietly got to the ground, used my hands and my knees, and crawled up the steps to the motel room. And I knocked on the door, and I'm leaning against the door jamb. Moolah grabs me by the shoulder, throws me into the bed, says, "Well, at least you made it home tonight."
Oh, shit.
Mr. Murphy, you're up, brother.
Okay. She reminded me of a situation I had with a company I was working for. We went out of town to do this show for a fire company so they could raise money to buy a new truck. So after the show, we go back to the hotel, and I was sharing a room with Ravage, or Brad, as everyone knows him. And we were getting ready to go out. Now, there's one stoplight in this whole town at one bar. And I think the bar is called the Lamplight or the Gaslight or something like that. When we go in, and the place is packed.
You
The
better hope
DJ
it wasn't called the gas.
We have the wrestlers from the show tonight here. And, we're sitting there drinking. Well, the promoter, Dino Santa, shows up.
Oh, my God.
And he says,
I haven't heard that name in a
"What are you guys
long
doing
time.
here?" Well, yeah, we're here to party. Oh, no. I set up an after-show party at this place down the road. He said there's going to be food and music. And so, all right, so we all jump in Dino's car and we drive down there. And it was this little country do-drop-in kind of place. There was, except for the bartender, there were 2 people at the bar. One lady who was big enough to fit into 2 bar stools.
Yikes.
Some guy sitting at the bar who looked like at any given moment he was going to stick a gun in his mouth. Dino ordered up chicken fingers, French fries, bar food. And we're looking around like, you took us from a partying atmosphere to this. I said, Dino, don't ever plan an after party again. Let somebody else do it, because you obviously know nothing about what you do. But it was
Something else, wasn't he, Mike?
Say that again?
I said Dino was something else, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure
that's one way of putting it.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Dino was a fucking hoot.
He
Trust
didn't
me.
get shot by the mafia for selling cigarettes in their territory for no reason.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a comment. I'm putting it up right now.
Well, Victoria, the one thing I love is the man has lived in this country for 60 some odd years, and he's still talking like a this.
Mike, somebody just said that you sound and look like Kevin Nash.
Yeah, he looks like Colonel Sanders.
Oh,
Mike,
damn.
yeah.
I didn't catch that. What'd she say?
Somebody says that Mike looks like Colonel Sanders and sounds like Kevin Nash. I had fun tonight watching.
I tell you what, I wish I had their money.
Oh, that's fucking hilarious. Thank
Oh,
you,
Jesus.
Mr. Pesci. We needed that. That was
Yeah,
great.
that's Pesci
Oh.
for you. That's my friend Pesci. That's the Pesci
So
for you.
let me ask you, let's talk about this book. The book is called Tears, Triumphs, and Turnbuckles. Who came up with the title? Was that you or John?
That was between the both. We were shooting things back, trying to find a tale that was catchy, but also told the truth.
Sure.
I put out a hit me up to my fans on my personal Facebook and said, look, if somebody can come up with a title that we use, I'll send them a package of X amount of pictures, blah, 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 autographed. So all these people came up with different things, and we actually took a piece from here, and from here, and it tells the truth. I've had tears in my life. I've had triumphs. God bless them, turnbuckles in my life. And
Absolutely.
I'm going to let y'all know right now, when you buy my book, which you get from me, by the way, on my Facebook page, Vicki Otis, for $35 autographed, including postage.
Yep.
When you read the first 70 pages, you better be ready. 70 pages are not pretty. They're the truth, and they're my childhood.
Yeah.
I don't regret it, because if it wasn't for my childhood, I ended up at the Wino Motel, and I wouldn't have ended up in wrestling.
True
But
enough.
I got some great
I have
stories.
to tell people that, and that I am honored that one of the first people that Princess Victoria came to was myself in this show. We are actually, I'm proud to say, a small part of Princess Victoria's book. There are some stories in the book from this podcast. I hope to God you put the Judy Martin Big Pit story in the book.
Well, now you know I'm getting ready to write a second book, especially after the last 6 months.
Yeah, that's got to be in book 2.
In the book, it'll be in the second book. Now, the Stan Stasiak story,
yes,
about Swamp Monster is in the book.
Yes, that I knew. I knew what was going in too. So yeah, I'm honored that we had just a small part in your book. It's interesting. I have referred John Cosper to 4 people. All 4 people had books with John. It's Princess Victoria, Karen McDaniel, who will be on in 2 weeks to talk about her book. And we've got Barb Goodish, but I don't know if John did her book with her. I'll have to find out. But yeah, John did a couple of books with people I referred him to. And
John has done several. Angelo, John has done several biographies, and he, like I said, he was referred to me by Scott Teal. And if Scott Teal gives you a reference, John made this so easy. I hardly worked for this. I sent him 70 pages, and he built on that. But there's not one falsification in that book. John will tell your story as your story should be told and how you want it to be told.
Absolutely. No doubt about that. Any questions, folks, before we go?
I actually have one more.
We're going to round this out. Oh, go
I
ahead,
have
Jen.
one more question.
You got it, Jen.
Victoria, what is your thought about Mercedes Martinez and what WWE did to her?
Refresh my memory.
Mercedes Martinez was actually started out in the I believe it was the Moolah the whole thing with Moolah. But she started working with WWE, and then all of a sudden they just pulled her out with no reason. Supposedly they said that she didn't make a good storyline, but however, that's bullshit.
Yeah, well, with his story writers, if the storyline isn't good, then whose fault is it? The Mercedes storyline. And see, that's something we never had. Nobody walked in and told me what to say in an interview.
Yeah.
Nobody walked in and told Roddy what to say in an interview.
Oh, I'll tell you what.
What I think about Vinnie McMahon is the worst day for wrestling. And yes, he may have made and is making a lot of money.
Yeah.
But he has taken my business, Mike's business, Roddy Piper's business, Buddy Rose, and he has just.
Yep.
We were never entertainment. We were professional wrestling.
Thank you.
Yes, we were there to entertain the crowd, to take Joe Blow, who had worked 7 days that week, 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day, and his wife, and his granddad, and that were all at the matches because they could be, because all this language, and yes, I use it in my personal life, but when you're in an interview or you're in that ring, you don't use it because Grandma Martin could be sitting on the front row.
Yeah.
What Vinny has done to this business, he's destroyed it. But there's promotions coming up now, like ROH, like AEW.
Thank you.
Don't get me wrong, I don't like those intense matches with the tacks and the glass and all that.
Yeah, that's not about
Impact.
But ROH has actually gone down. ROH is actually no longer right now.
Well, are you kidding me?
They're
still on TV here.
Right.
They're on TV every fucking night here. What happened, Jennifer?
They're hanging on, Jen.
Barely.
ROH is hanging on. They are having serious financial difficulties, and Sinclair Broadcasting, Sinclair, who owns ROH, is having serious questionable doubt as to whether they want to keep investing good money after bad.
Well, they also lost 2 of their major investors.
True, absolutely. The thing
with COVID, before COVID, I'm going to tell you, I was watching them, and even the first year of COVID, I loved the way they handled it. They did not do anything. They had their wrestlers come up, tell their story, and then they showed their different matches through their lifetime in wrestling, rather than have everybody until everything was clear. So I really hate to hear what. Because the women wrestlers, the WOH of ROH, Kelly Klein, Suzuki, what's her first name, Jennifer? Sammy? You know who I'm talking
Suzuki.
about? Yeah, Sammy Suzuki. These women wrestled. They walked out there. They took bumps. They knew how to reverse it. They knew what a headlock was. They knew how to reverse it. They knew what a small package was. I was very impressed by the men did a good job, don't get me wrong, guys. But I was the women they had, and I hate to hear that ROH is going down because they have been a serious catalyst into true wrestling back.
And it's purely financial, Vicki. I recently wrote something on Facebook. I'll read it to you. ECW was never wrestling. It was backyard amateur mayhem. WCW used to be wrestling, but they were corrupted by corporate finance and greed. WWE was never wrestling and never tried to hide the fact that they were not wrestling. The NWA is doing it right. There's one problem. Short arms and deep pockets. AEW, I'm still waiting. The thing that I hold out hope for AEW is they have an owner there who has great financial backing and great financial wealth, both he and his family, far more than the McMahons do. I am hoping that the sale of WWE goes through. Those of you who don't know that, well, news break, spoiler.
How could you not know that with everybody he's firing and all the things that he's cutting out?
Thank you.
Yep.
I called that shot. Yeah, Vicki, I called that shot. That company's up for sale.
Yep.
My understanding is they are 95% to 98% done with the deal. My understanding is that Disney is going to purchase the WWE. If that happens,
So we're gonna watch Mickey kick Goofy's ass.
well, you got to
They also have
remember
it
who was
to be on
also
the Disney
affiliated
Plus
with
app.
Disney.
Well,
You gotta
what I
remember
think is going to happen is it's going to take it from wrestling entertainment to, and don't get me wrong, I love Glow. Glow was Saturday mornings and all that. That's probably where we're going with that, which, Glow was a good thing. Sandy Grimlina is one of my friends.
Yeah, I know.
But it's
Grimmy's been
not.
on this show a dozen times.
Do what?
I said Grimmy's been on this show a dozen times.
Yeah, I know.
She's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, I know. She kept trying to steal Piper from me.
It's harsh for me because again, I'm the company that I'm part owner with. I own it with two other guys, and I'm trying to go back to where wrestling was a family thing, where you treat your wrestlers like they're your family. You pay your wrestlers, you feed your wrestlers. That's that. No drama, no bullshit. If your head's too far up someone's ass, get out of my locker room. I don't got time for it. I'm not into this political bullshit. Right. And I've dealt with enough of those sons of bitches in my entire career. I'm like, I'm over it. And I think the older I get, the more tired and more just, I'm like, if you don't like the way I run my locker room, then get out. I don't have time for your bullshit. And somebody goes, oh, isn't that heartless? I said, you obviously don't know who the fuck you're dealing with because obviously I don't care. If I'm paying you to do something, don't go into business for yourself. If I want you to wear a tutu and a thong, guess what? You're going to wear a tutu and a thong. And that's not for a girl. That's for a guy.
Here's the thing, Jen. People forget that they work for you. When the wrestlers are telling you what they're going to do, that's the problem.
Yes, sir.
Mike Murphy worked for me. Mike Murphy worked for me. And for 24 years, I had the premier promotion in New Jersey. Second only to NWA Jersey. And I closed my company up because I didn't want to deal with the bullshit and the up-and-coming prima donnas. And I'll be damned if I'm going to pay you above and beyond what everybody else is, and you're going to tell me what you're going to do? No, you're not. Absolutely not. So Mr. Murphy will tell you, I closed my company up, and I'm one of the few people that paid when people were getting $20. I gave them $75.
That's absolutely true. When
I
I worked for Angelo, I never had to worry about a payday. I never had to worry about the envelope being light or, having to find a place to eat because basically we all ate at Angelo's house. He put out enough food to feed a small third world nation. And, when we would get to the arena, it was all business. You did. And if you did what he told you to do, then the show was going to go well. If you decided to go into business for yourself, which we actually had a guy do, who wasn't even part of the show.
Yeah,
he was a last-minute add-on who totally screwed up the ending of the match I had.
Yeah, he sure did.
But we covered it up. But he was shown the door by not only Angelo, but about 6 or 7 of the workers.
Yeah,
because he was getting a little bit loud. And like, no, you ain't doing that here. Have a nice life.
Yeah,
And we
covered
basically
it up
pushed
and
him out the
carried
door
him
and
out
said,
is
don't
what
come
we
back.
did.
And that's
Well,
the way
Yeah,
it
but
should
tell you what.
It's
Yeah.
like Jennifer said. Jennifer's a promoter. Angelo's a promoter. If Angelo says so-and-so does this or does that or does the other thing, yes, you can walk up to the promoter and say, well, do you think it might be better if we did this? But you don't do it unless you get the okay from the promoter, because that's your boss.
Well, not
And if
only
you don't
that,
like
but there's
what
a
your
specific
boss said-
storyline. The problem is there's a specific storyline that you're trying to go with to keep that crowd entertained. But if you do that one screw up, the crowd's like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
I had a situation at a show. I helped this guy put the show together. Basically, the show was going on. He didn't get the crowd that he wanted to get. And, when it came time to pay me, I told him, I said, look, don't worry about my pay. Take my pay, use it, make sure the other guys get paid. Well, what happened was one of the wrestlers, and I can't think of his name. I really don't give a shit what his name was. Put his younger brother in the audience as a plant. Takes the guy he's working, throws him over the rail where his brother's at. Now his brother starts beating on the wrestler. Doesn't tell anybody at the show about this. Next thing you know, this kid is getting dragged to the back. He's getting the boots put to him. I get over to him, I snatch him up, and I literally walked him out the door. I sat him down. I said, now you can sit here and wait for the cops to come. And he's like, oh, no, you don't understand. My brother was one of the wrestlers. We worked this out before the show.
Yeah.
So I go back. I said, well, you just sit here. I go back inside. I tell one referee, I said, the minute he's done with his match, get him out of the ring, bring him back to the office.
Yeah.
That's right.
They bring him back, and I said, who told you to do that? Well, nobody. I said, so you did it on your own? He says, yeah. I said, good. Pack your shit, get out of my arena. Don't even think about collecting a payday.
Yeah.
I said, you went into business for yourself, pay yourself, have a nice day.
That's right. And you did absolutely correct.
Yeah, when you don't tell somebody, if you go into business for yourself and you're going to do something and you don't tell anybody, that's when people get hurt.
Absolutely.
It's not even telling anybody, Mike. You ask permission. You say, hey, I've got this idea. It sounds good to me. Angelo, Mike, what do you think? You don't say, well, I'm going to do this. No. He's the promoter. You're the booker. They have to go through you two before they do anything. And the thing that's wrong with some of these indie promotions is they are letting these young kids who haven't, and guys, to those of you who have paid their dues, I apologize. But there's a lot of these young kids in the business right now. They've 3 weeks and thrown into the ring, and all of a sudden they think they're freaking Roddy Piper, Adonis, or Andre the Giant, and they're not.
Exactly.
Now, see what's funny.
I love these kids that train in their backyard, do matches in their backyard, and somehow they sneak by and they get on a promotion, and then they get in the ring, and it's like, no, you're not trained. What are you doing in here?
Yeah.
That person, Mike, that we were talking about earlier, that stalked me for 3 years, he used Vader's name with me. That Vader trained him. The only thing he did was set up the ring. And this is what I'm seeing happening with a lot of promotions is they're having these roadies, and they're roadies. ROADIES, not wrestlers. And they're claiming, well, I was trained by... Yeah, you were trained by Vader to set up the ring.
Yeah,
and this is happening. They're walking to a promotion saying, I worked with, Roddy Piper trained me. No. Roddy Piper gave you his bagpipes at the side of the ring when he was getting ready for his match. People are not
Right,
double.
exactly.
People
Big
are not
difference,
double
isn't
checking.
it, Vicki?
Oh.
Well, I'll tell you what. That is that's the end of a really good show. I'll tell you what. Let's go around the horn. Everybody, give your social. Jen, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I am Jennifer Lopez, Jennifer Lynn Lopez. That is my only Facebook. I do have Vampiress Magdalena on Instagram. I own my own company, HWT, Hostile Wrestling Takeover. If you haven't seen it yet, keep a lookout. We are actually getting ready to start a third show next month, February 19th. So I'm looking forward to that.
I'll be there. I will be at that one. And Murph, your social.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook under Michael Murphy. There'll be a picture there. You'll know you have the right icon. There'll be a picture there of me and Dusty Rhodes together. I'm also going to start shooting here soon. I've been in talks with a person. We're going to be shooting a wrestling documentary soon about what it's like to actually be in the indie circuit of professional wrestling, what guys go through to pay their dues, to get in the ring, to do a match, and to be an indie circuit professional wrestler trying to, make his way into the bigs. Hopefully we're going to start shooting that in the next couple months.
Yeah, and I would love to see that. I want to know. I want to know what promoters are doing now on the indie circuit. It's frightening when I think about what the indie circuit looks like right now. It's absolutely scary. Frightening. Jake, Jam Jake Hudson, your social. Tell everybody where they can get hold of you.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter either at mushroom_Hudson or at Hudson Jake. Hudson HUSDON Jake JAKE. You can follow me on Facebook at Ellis John Hudson.
Yep.
And that's also Instagram. Also, if you're ever on Twitch, my Twitch is twitch.tv/Jake Huston.
And Jake, let's have one more look at Princess Victoria's book, please.
All right, hold on. Give me 1 minute.
And the book.
I've got it right here.
Oh, you got it in your hand. Okay, Vicki has it in her hand. There you go. Beautiful.
You can reach me on Facebook at Vicki Otis, VICKI There'll be a picture. My profile picture is a picture of my son getting married. If you look behind me, you can see the dream catchers and the 8x10 for sale. Also, the Legends card, which is me in my famous yellow eagle outfit. I did some work, and it's actually the signature on the T-shirt is mine. Contact me, sir.
Put the book. Can you put the book back up so I have you on the solo? Can you see the book?
Yeah, perfect. Excellent, Vicki.
Okay.
Thank you. Excellent.
Princess Victoria, Tears, Triumphs, and Turnbuckles. It's a story not only of my life in wrestling, but my life before wrestling.
Yep.
Like I said, I make homemade dream catchers. I can make them to color. Contact me on Facebook at Vicki Otis, VICKI OTIS. Also, Velvet and I have a fan page. It's Velvet McIntyre and Princess Victoria on Facebook. And Angelo, thank you once again for doing what you've done for me.
Darling, you've been here. This is your fifth time with me. You're always a welcome guest here. We love you here. You're a great storyteller, and I still remember the show that we did with Judy Martin and Casey Carlisle, and you guys just made her night that night, man. I'll tell you what.
That was so much fun.
It was.
It was. And y'all know when I said, Judy, I love you. Right?
You know what? I'm going to put that page up. I'm going to actually put that show up after we're done here. I'm going to put that back up on Facebook and let you share it around. It was a great show.
Hit me on my page too, please, Angelo.
Absolutely, you bet. You bet. On behalf of Armageddon, Michael Murphy, on behalf of Jam and Jake Hudson, on behalf of Jennifer Lynn Lopez, and especially on behalf of Princess Victoria, I'm Angelo Mad Dog DeCipio, saying good night, everybody. Until I see you next time, let's all wrestle with the future. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
I'm hitting the button right now.